Welcome to the Anchor to Wellness Show. I am Dr. Kacey Wallace, and here we dismantle false fixes, we call out the broken systems keeping us sick, and rebuild resiliency from the inside out. Everywhere you look this season, you're being told to do more, eat cleaner, move more, plan better, be more grateful. But what if the most radical thing you could do for your health right now isn't just all that stuff? What if it's just having more peace, right? Because here's the truth. Most women I meet are exhausted from trying to do the season right, doing all the things. They're juggling food choices, family expectations, social calendars, and the endless pressure to make it all look effortless. And beneath that, their nervous system is running on fumes. It's caught between, I should be enjoying this, and I just need to make it through. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. The constant striving for perfection, perfect meals, perfect mood, perfect moments keeps your body stuck in fight or flight mode. And when your physiology is in survival, it can't repair, it can't digest, and it truly cannot rest. So I want to challenge this entire narrative. What if the goal this upcoming holiday season wasn't perfection, but what if it was just to have more peace? Because peace isn't passive, it is powerful. It's the state where your hormones and your metabolism and your brain finally get that memo. I'm safe enough to heal. This episode is about releasing the pressure, not your potential. It is about learning to find calm within the chaos so your body can do what it was designed to do, restore and rebuild. So, why is perfection the enemy of healing, right? Let's talk through that. Perfection is sneaky. It disguises itself as discipline and control and self-respect, but underneath, it's often just driven by fear of failing, of letting others down, of just losing control of your body and even of your life. And physiologically, that fear itself keeps your nervous system in a constant state of vigilance. When your brain believes you're never doing enough and that there's always one more thing to fix or track or perfect, your stress hormones stay elevated. Cortisol rises, adrenaline lingers, and your body stays locked in this go position. It's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. Your system keeps revving but never actually moves forward. And that's the biochemical truth behind perfectionism. It's not just psychological pressure, it's physiologic strain. And that creates all kind of havoc in cortisol. And high cortisol suppresses repair. It breaks down muscle tissue, it slows digestion, it blunts hormone signaling, and literally burns through your resiliency reserves. Your sleep quality declines, your cravings spike, and inflammation quietly builds. And here's the irony. Perfectionism masquerades as health. The idea that if you just need to eat cleaner or try harder, your body will respond. But your body doesn't speak the language of punishment. It speaks the language of safety. And until it feels safe, healing simply won't happen. So let's reframe this once and for all. Perfection doesn't protect your health. It prevents it. Because when you're chasing unrealistic standards, you're teaching your body to brace and not to breathe. You're living in survival mode and not repair mode. Healing requires the exact opposite environment, one where your body finally believes, I'm safe enough to rest. That's when digestion and detoxification and hormone balance can all resume, and that's when inflammation lowers and your metabolism resets. And that's when peace stops being an idea and starts becoming your biology. So I want to talk more about the physiology of peace because peace isn't passive. It's so powerful. It's the most metabolically intelligent thing your body can experience. When you feel safe, every major system in your body recalibrates toward healing. Your brain shifts from survival mode, where it's just scanning for threats all the time or making new problems or whatever, to restoration mode, where creativity and clarity and problem solving come back online. Your parasympathetic nervous system, it's often that rest and digest state, it finally gets permission to do its job. And that single shift changes everything. How we digest our food, how we sleep, how our hormones communicate, and even how your cells produce energy. Here's what the science shows. When the body is in a parasympathetic state, your vagus nerve signals the heart to slow down. Blood pressure lowers and digestion increases. Your cells get more oxygen. Inflammatory cytokines decrease. Even your immune system becomes more accurate, less overreactive, less prone to autoimmune flares. Your body literally becomes more efficient at repairing itself when it feels safe. And that's what I mean when I say that peace is a metabolic requirement, because your metabolism isn't just about calories, it's about communication. It's the harmony between your brain and your hormones and the mitochondria. Remember that, the powerhouse of the cell that determines whether your body is in a state of breakdown or rebuild. Peace tells your body it's okay to shift from protection to repair. So when you slow down and you breathe deep and you create small moments of stillness, that's not doing nothing. That is your nervous system reprogramming itself towards safety. That's your hormones recalibrating. That's your cells finally getting the green light to heal. That is why nervous system regulation is the foundation of every healing protocol I teach. Because until your body experiences safety, it can't interpret your good habits correctly. You can eat perfectly, supplement strategically, exercise regularly, but if your brain perceives danger, your biology will default to defense and not repair. So the goal of this season isn't just to find peace, but to practice it, to create the conditions where your body no longer feels the need to fight for survival. Because when safety becomes your baseline, healing becomes automatic. So I want to talk about why this season makes peace feel impossible. Let's be honest about this. This season practically is just daring your nervous system to stay out of control, right? The lights, the noise, the sugar, the travel, the social expectations. It's a perfect storm of sensory and emotional and metabolic stress, which just creates complete chaos. There was a recent survey in the American Psychological Association, and that found that nearly 49% of women report increased stress during the holidays. And 1 in 3 say they experience fatigue or irritability daily in the month of December. That's not coincidence, that's physiology. When you combine sleep disruption and erratic meal timing and a lot more sugar and heightened emotional load, your HP axis, that brain adrenal communication loop, starts to misfire. The cortisol rhythms go crazy or they get really flat. Something crazy happens with cortisol. Instead of that gentle morning rise and gradual evening decline, you get a constant low grade, just like of stress hormones that never fully shut off. And that's when you start feeling wired, but tired, reactive, and inflamed. Now we're going to add all that blood sugar volatility. Research from the University of Massachusetts shows that just 2 days of irregular eating and higher sugar intake can spike cortisol and insulin together, a combination that drives cravings, weight gain, and poor sleep. And then that poor sleep continues the whole cycle of crazy cortisol, okay? So even if you're not emotionally stressed, your physiology can still feel like it's under attack. And we haven't even touched on the social and relational piece. Family dynamics and expectations and overstimulation all activate the amygdala, and that's the brain's emotional alarm system. Neuroscience research from Stanford found that people exposed to repeated social stressors show a 30% reduction in prefrontal cortex activity, meaning your logic and your impulse control and those empathy circuits literally go offline, and then you find yourself saying things, oops, shouldn't have said that, right? We say things, we eat something we regret. Your brain temporarily lost its brakes. And that's why I often tell my patients and my clients, whoever I work with, you can't create peace in your calendar if your physiology is in chaos. If your nervous system is already running hot, even small stressors like traffic, messed up plans, or family tension, that can all feel so amplified. Your threshold for overwhelm shrinks because your body is already maxed out. The good news is awareness is the antidote. When you recognize what's actually being triggered, your sensory load, your cortisol rhythm, and your glucose swings, you can intervene with calm instead of collapse. You really can. That's where these regulation practices things like just deep breathing and eating routinely steady meals and actually putting some good boundaries in place. These all come in together. They're not luxuries, but they act as biological preserving strategies. So, if peace feels impossible right now, it's not because you're weak, it's because your body is responding exactly as it was designed to protect you. But protection isn't the same as restoration. The next step is learning how to shift out of this defense and back into repair mode, starting with understanding what perfection and pressure are really costing you. So, I want to talk about the cost of chasing perfection. When perfection is the goal, every deviation feels like a failure. And that failure doesn't just live in your minds, it lives in your cells. Let's talk about what actually happens inside your body when you're trapped in that perfection loop. Every time you feel shame or frustration for not meeting your own expectations, whether it's missing a workout or eating off plan or snapping at someone, your brain triggers the same chemical cascade as a physical threat. Cortisol rises, adrenaline spikes, and inflammatory cytokines increase, even if you're sitting quietly at your desk. One recent landmark study from the UCLA Cousins Center for Psychoneuroimmunology, researchers found that chronic self criticism can increase interleukin 6 levels, that's a key inflammatory marker, by more than 40%. In other words, perfectionism doesn't just make you mentally tense, it makes you physically inflamed. That inflammation doesn't stay isolated, it interferes with hormone signaling, blunts thyroid function, damages cellular communication, the very systems responsible for your metabolism, your mood, your daily passion, your life presence, and your memory. It's no wonder so many of us are experiencing these same symptoms when they're living under this constant pressure. Poor sleep because cortisol won't quiet down, weight resistance because inflammation blocks those insulin receptors, brain fog because blood shifts away from the prefrontal cortex. That's your focus and decision center. So, all of these things are happening because we are putting so much pressure to do things perfectly, and that is not possible. This is something I've dealt with for a long time. I'm working on it every day because I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want all these things to just spiral out of control. And a Harvard Health analysis, it even linked perfectionistic stress patterns with a higher risk of metabolic syndrome. The combination of abdominal fat and high blood pressure and blood sugar instability, all markers of a dysregulated stress system. So when you're chasing the illusion of doing everything right and your body's repair group, it just can't keep up. Your mitochondria, those little energy factories in your cells, downshift into survival. Your gut lining becomes more permeable. Your immune system stays on high alert. Your hormone rhythms loses its natural ebb and flow. And that's why so many women end up saying, I'm doing everything right, but I'm still exhausted, I'm inflamed, and I'm foggy. Because doing everything right has turned into a full-time stressor in and of itself. And here's the reframe. This isn't lack of willpower. It is a lack of recovery, taking time for yourself to recover. Your nervous system was never designed for perfection. It was designed for adaptation. But when you never give it a break, it loses the ability to bounce back. That's adaptation. That's what burnout really is, a depletion of your physiologic flexibility. So the next time you feel that inner voice pushing for perfection, remember this truth. Peace doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving your body a fighting chance to heal. So I want to talk more about this resiliency lens. I love talking about resiliency because I'm kind of a nerd. But what does this really look like? When most people think of peace, they picture stillness, calm mornings, slow breaths, quiet moments. Those are all so important. But true peace isn't just stillness, it is stability. It's your body's ability to adapt and recover and respond without losing its center. That's what resiliency is, the capacity to bend without breaking, to not respond in ways that we don't want to respond, right? So, physiologically, resiliency is the measure of how quickly your body returns to baseline after stress. A resilient nervous system doesn't avoid the challenge, it recovers from it. We have the thing, we recover. We have another thing, we recover, right? We take the time to do those things. That's resiliency. Your cortisol rises appropriately when needed and settles when the stressor passes. We weren't designed to be in fight or flight, run from the tiger all day long, every day. We have to think about our heart rate variability. That is one of the best markers of resilience, and it reflects that flexibility. Studies show that people with a higher heart rate variability have better metabolic function, lower inflammation, and even slower biological aging. So, peace isn't about removing stress, it's about restoring rhythm. And that's what I teach on all my healing journeys: reset, repair, rebuild. That's why I created the model to help you understand that better. We have to reset our rhythms, repair our roots, and rebuild our focus and resiliency, right? So, because peace is built in these layers, it's not usually like a leaps and bounds things, it's built one small step at a time. So, reset is where it all begins. We create safety and calm in the nervous system. We control those nervous system areas like our circadian rhythm, the blood sugar, our nervous system. This is like, okay, let's honor our bedtime. Let's prioritize sleep. Let's get more sunlight first thing in the morning. Let's make sure we're eating protein and especially taking some deep breaths throughout the day. It sounds too simple, right? But it is so effective. These micro moments of regulation signal to your body you're safe, and safety is what unlocks healing. And then we talk about repair. This is when our hormones and metabolism and our brain start to respond to that safety, right? We lower inflammation, our digestion improves, we wake up with steadier energy instead of that wired exhaustion. And this is where we go from saying, I didn't even realize how much tension I was carrying until it was gone, because the biology finally shifts from defense mode to repair mode, okay? And then we talk about rebuild. This is a stage where peace becomes your new normal, not a moment of escape. It is just expanding your capacity. You can handle more without tipping into that overwhelm, right? You can just hold on to more things. Your patience will grow. So then you don't just go nutso and go wild on somebody and then regret it. And then this perpetuates the whole cycle. So patience grows, our cravings fade. You feel sharper mentally, okay? And your body feels capable again. That's not perfection. That is physiologic peace expressing itself through resiliency. So, in a study in 2023 in the Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience, researchers found that individuals with lower perceived stress and higher heart rate variability had a biological age nearly 3.5 years younger than their chronological age. In a study in 2023 in the Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience, researchers found that individuals with lower perceived stress and higher heart rate variability had a biological age nearly 3.5 years younger than their chronological age. If you don't know what I mean by that, go back to an episode just a few episodes ago where I talk about that very thing. That's the power of resiliency, when your nervous system recovers well and your cells literally age slower. That's my goal. I want my biological age to be less than my chronological age. I want when I'm 70 to still feel like I am right now when I'm 47, right? So when I talk about peace, I'm not talking about taking a vacation or meditating for hours a day. Those things are great and they're super powerful, but small shifts can lead to big changes. I see it all the time. So I'm talking about building a body that feels calm even when life is full, a body that can reset after disruption or repair when it's stressed or rebuild stronger each time. Because peace is not the absence of stress. We're never going to get rid of our stress. It's the presence of resiliency. And that is a kind of peace that changes your hormones, your metabolism, your relationships, and your entire experience of yourself. So here's the truth of what I want to leave you with. You don't need a new plan this season. You need permission to stop pushing. Your body isn't waiting for perfection, it's waiting for peace. And peace begins when you understand how your stress is showing up inside your physiology. That's why I started offering the adrenal optimization test. It's a lab test that you can get that's a visual snapshot of your stress rhythm. The people that have done this test so far are just amazed at what it's showing them and how they can work to rebuild some of their resiliency just by seeing what this data is showing them. It will show you how your cortisol curve rises and falls throughout the day, and that reveals where your body is living, if it's in overdrive or it's running on empty. And also, it will show you your DHEAS. It's one of my favorite markers because it tells us how resilient your system is. When cortisol and DHEA are out of sync, it's like your body is sprinting without recovery time. But when they're in rhythm, your energy can stabilize, your mood can steady, and your body can finally shift into this repair, okay? And you build resiliency. The best part, there's no guessing. You get the clarity. That's the kind of help. It helps you understand why you feel wired and tired, or both even, and what it will take to reset. Because once you see it on paper, you stop blaming willpower and start working within your biology. And for those of you who are listening and thinking, I don't want to do this alone, I get it. I understand that. Healing can feel like an uphill climb when you're the only one holding yourself accountable. And that's why I'm building something really special. It's a new group program that walks you through reset, repair, rebuild, all the model, everything we're talking about. It's not quite open just yet. We're so close, but I am inviting a very small number of founding members to join early. And these are people that want to rebuild their resilience together. Let's get a reboot, right? It's called Resiliency Reboot. Let's get on it together. I know group programs can feel intimidating at first, but here's what I've learned. When you surround yourself with others, you walk with others, you walk the same path, you're encouraging to each other, right? Something shifts. You see yourself in their stories. You get reminded you are not alone. And on the days when your peace feels hard to find, their encouragement helps you keep going. I've been part of these kinds of groups myself, and they have been some of the most transformative experiences of my life because when we regulate together, when we share our progress, our wins, our wobbles, we create a kind of physiologic safety that accelerates healing. So if you're ready to stop guessing, start understanding, and begin your reset, repair, rebuild journey from a place of calm instead of chaos, you can take the first step today, and that's to get the adrenal optimization test. You'll find the link in the show notes below. And while you're there, you can add your name to the early founding member list for my upcoming group program, Resiliency Reboot. So you'll be the first to know when it all opens. Because peace isn't quitting. It's the most intelligent, healing thing you can do for your body. And it's so much easier when you don't do it alone. So thank you for joining me for this episode. Let's be kind to ourselves, quit holding ourselves to this unrealistic, perfectionistic standard, and be well.